Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tone Dome episode number 12. We're really getting up there now in numbers, you know, almost to the teens, almost to the teenage years. I mean, I am sitting here proud to be with Evan Wright. Evan Wright is a composer in the Los Angeles area, and he has an interest in film scoring, and he's going for that full bore. Just kind of severed his ties with some restaurant that maybe we'll talk about later, just to focus on his stuff, you know? And so he, basically how I know Evan is we went to school together at the New England Conservatory of Music, and he graduated at the same time that I did. So how are you, Evan, man? How are you doing? You're smiling, so you must be good.
Yeah, I'm great, man. Thanks for having me here. Really excited you're doing this.
Absolutely, man. This has been a journey with this whole podcast thing, and you're kind of like a jumping off point for me because you're not a trombone player or a tuba player or a low brass player.
Yeah, I am definitely not those things.
That's okay, man. Oh, I actually welcome that a lot more now.
Cool.
So yeah. So as you know, because we were just talking about it, I kind of like to get things warmed up, you know, as low brass players do, and you sing too, so you have to we got to get into it somehow. So I created a Mad Lib for you, and you're gonna fill it out so I don't get in trouble. Okay. You might get in trouble, but that's okay. But not you won't. All right.
For sure. So wait, what's the rules of what does it mean? What's a Mad?
So a Mad Lib is kind of like I'll write a story and there'll be words missing, and it's your job to fill in the missing words, and then it creates a story that is unique to you and I together, you not knowing anything, me knowing everything. And then it comes out how it comes out. Who knows?
Heard. Okay.
But it's probably like 10 words or something like that, and then I'll read you a story, basically.
Okay, cool.
So we'll get nice and warmed up here. All right, so first, I need a jazz standard from you. Something that, yeah, like a jazz standard. You got it.
All the things you are.
I love that one. All right. Your favorite lift, compound lift.
Deadlifts.
Nice.
Wow, this is really interesting.
An adjective now.
Adjective. Man. Excellent. Is that an adjective?
It is.
Okay, for sure.
It is an adjective. And I can make pretty much anything work, so just let it flow, man. It's all right.
Yeah.
Your favorite animal?
Dogs.
So basic, bro. Come on.
I'm sorry. I had
like capybara or like
off the dome, you know.
I got you. All right, you're flowing with it now. Now a color.
Yellow.
A verb.
Run. Is that a verb?
It is. Yeah, you got it. Your favorite beverage. Now this can be with or without alcohol, but
Beverage.
I'll leave that up to you.
Oh, man, I want Spindrift, grapefruit Spindrifts.
I'm sorry. What is that?
You know what a Spindrift? Like they're like sparkling waters.
Okay.
Spindrift.
Spindrift.
Spindrift. Yeah. You need to try those, man. Those are good. Those are popular too.
Spindrift. I learned so much from these podcasts, man. I'm gonna be drinking Spindrift later. I got you.
Yeah.
Can I just find it at the store?
Yeah.
I have to
They're
special
everywhere.
ordered Spindrift.
No. They're everywhere, man. Like
Right.
they're literally everywhere you go.
I have never once in my life seen that.
You gotta look for it.
That's crazy. Okay, cool. A celestial noun.
What?
Like
Celestial noun.
like a noun, but like think space, you know?
Okay. Galactica? No.
Galactica, bro.
Is that
I
a
like
no?
that.
Okay. What about
Galactica is kind of like it's like an adjective. I don't know. Pick something else.
Spaceship. That's the best I can do.
I like it. It's a little clunky, but it'll work out, right? And then a physical greeting.
Like a physical greeting. Like
how you greet somebody, but like with a motion of some sort. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, a high five. Definitely.
All right, and one more. Another color.
Green.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
So this one is called Breaking the Fourth Wall. And this is a Mad Lib by Sam George and Evan Wright. And we're going to get into it, all right? So, news breaks one snowy evening that the known jazz villainess, All the Things You Are, has stolen more sweet licks from jazz hopefuls all over the city. The news anchor reports that if the villainess were to steal any more, jazz society would run the risk of becoming helplessly unoriginal, running the jazz arts effectively into the ground. Dark, foreboding music fills the air as Deadlift Man, the city's jazz hero, awakens in his tiny yet excellent apartment, flipping on the jazz news to see what kind of do-gooding he can do for the night. When he hears of the villainess's thievery, he rushes for his tight, green spandex supersuit, feeds and says goodbye to his pet dog, and leaps through the partially ajar window. The music filling the air begins to grow in intensity, string instruments playing swelling chords, and the brass sounding hunting calls through the snowy air are a frightening harbinger for our hero as to what will come of his pursuit of the well-known villainess. The city's most happening jazz club that sits in the middle of the town with a snowy, enthusiastic line out the door and the faint whisperings of hip musical offerings seeping through every brick of the building. Our hero catches sight of the villainess entering the building, her deep, yellow hair flowing lightly through the night air. The hero smooth talks the bouncer with his super charm and enters the club shortly after. The once epic music that never ceased its crescendo now faded into one of passion and love. The strings took over the loving melody, while the flutes and oboes run through with longing flitters of intense color. Our hero stood stunned by the sudden change of vibe in the air, as if time was standing still. Well, time was standing still, because our hero had willed it so with his exceptional deadlifting powers. The hero turns from the allure of the woman to the film scorer sitting at the table in the corner, sipping on Spindrift. Spindrift, everybody. Why do you bring me here with such haste, only to force me to feel such emotion for this woman? The hero pleaded. She is a thief, and I cannot associate with such types for my reputation's sake. The film scorer of the film we are currently witnessing right now, surprised by the sudden dialogue with the superhero, says, maybe you should hear her out. After all, she is a fan of jazz like you. Just then, time became unstuck, and our hero approached the villainess with spaceships in his eyes. He greets her with trepidation, but is immediately enthralled when she opens her mouth to speak. She says, I've been expecting you. Sit with me. Absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. The hero, now realizing his fault in assuming her attentions to be malicious, sits with her and listens as the finest musicians in the snowy city play on the stage across the room. The film scorer high-fived at the hero from across the room as the music fades to nothing. The end.
Wow. Nice job, man.
So that was inspired by your film scoring, man. I imagine you to be that film scorer sitting in the corner of the bar sipping on Spindrift, you know?
Wow, you should write short stories, man. That was great.
But that's just, yeah, my brain is crazy, man. I was trying to finish that up before I came on.
Wow,
With
you
you,
wrote.
you know?
Wow, that's incredible. That's really great, man. You have a gift, definitely.
Thanks, man. Well, let's talk about you. Enough about that, all right? Enough about all that. But we'll get. It's kind of based on what I want to talk about with you, and basically what has stricken me or struck me about you in the past has been your utter motivation, like your just drive, your consistency, your effort that you put into your life. And I think that we can all learn from that, and I certainly can learn from that. So, what would you say kind of inspires that productivity in you? I mean, you feel like you're running out of time or something? What's the deal?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Running out of time is an understatement.
Gotcha.
But I think, so like I've definitely like experimented a lot with different things, like especially in college, like I had like a startup, like a marketing business, and
Yeah.
like I jumped into film scoring on my sophomore year, and I was also singing and writing music, with my for my composition, classes and whatnot. And I don't know, I feel like, I think we're always kind of like studying ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think like if I look at myself, like a few things I can learn like about like what I tend to do is like and my friends will tell you about this too. Like once I have something in my mind, like about like what I want to, something I don't know about.
Yeah.
Like I go all in on that one thing. It doesn't matter like, that I'm a beginner or that I don't know anything about that subject or whatever.
Right.
I just have to like explore it to the deepest part, the best way I can,
Sure. Well, can I say, like, I wouldn't think that everybody is analyzing themselves in that way. You know what I mean? Like, you said you kind of like are always looking at yourself, trying to figure out how you act and things like that. What do you think you attribute that to in your life? I mean, this introspection, right? Because I feel like I try to do what you're doing too, but I struggle with it. And writing, as you see, is kind of like an escape to that and trying to figure out how I think about things and things like that. So
yeah,
I don't know, maybe you could talk to that. Like, what do you do to be introspective upon yourself,
Yeah, so I think, okay, so if I can, find the answer to that question, I think one, it stems from my needing to improve and be the best I can be, right? But I think that's only that's only possible through my faith in God and through my faith that in the future, in my faith in myself, that I can do this, because it's not like, sometimes it feels like I'm not supposed to be here, I'm not supposed to be doing these things, and especially in this.
What do you mean by
like,
that? What do you mean by that? You're not supposed to be doing these things. What does that mean?
Well, like, it's like a self-esteem thing, it's like, can you put this out into the world when you're creating something original or doing something you've never done before? Like you might be afraid of people's rejection. Like the hardest part is just putting it out there,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But back to your other question, when you said what motivates you, how you introspection, right?
Yeah,
so the only way I can really like continue moving forward in my pursuits, whatever they might be at that time, is by controlling me. And the only way I can control me is if I understand, what I'm doing, who I am, what I'm thinking, so then I could improve myself, because that's the only thing I can rely upon,
Right. Yeah. I think, well,
so
this reminds me of like when we kind of we go through school as instrumentalists, I guess, and I'm sure singers as well do this, but a big part of our practice is to kind of record and listen and understand, because you can hear it, you're hearing it from a different perspective, you know, like I have a trombone to my face, I can't hear exactly what's coming out the bell because it's over here, you know, and other people are hearing that. But when it comes to your own kind of personality and things like that, and being an artist yourself, that introspection becomes a little more interesting, right? And you kind of, I don't know, you get more out of it, I guess. So I kind of admire that about you. Like, and I was listening to your Spotify album. You have a couple albums on Spotify, and they're just so creative. Like the songs are so creative, and you just put it out there. I think I remember when you were making these albums at NEC, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, I'm making this music right now. I'm pretty hyped about it, and like, check it out when it comes out or whatever. And I don't know. I have trouble with putting myself out there like that. So what's some advice? Like, should people not be afraid of that, or what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think at that time when I was making that music, it was particularly like designed for the environment that I was in, you know, like I literally had like musicians surrounding me, you know, and not just, you know, like average, like these were amazing people, you know, like, so, you know, as someone who, you know, likes people and someone who like likes creating, that was the only option, was to like just make as much music as possible with these people. And I don't think I realized that as much as, you know, as you do like now, like when, you know, you're, you know, not around as many people, you really notice like how different things are, you know? But yeah, that's definitely what I was trying to do then.
But with kind of putting yourself out there then. Obviously there's practice that goes into what we do, you know? And sometimes it feels like you can never practice enough for something, you know? And it's like you're constantly chasing this next breakthrough or this next thing that you want to be able to do or something like that. Do you find the same things, or is it more of just a flow for you? Like, does it just flow from you and you're happy with it and you put it out there? I don't know.
Yeah, I think when it comes to putting things out there, you have to like, I think for me, it's kind of two things. Like you have to kind of be like, have some self-confidence, you know, but that's only built by like taking those tiny steps, like having those tiny wins, you know, and they build up to like, you know, oh, like I can put this out there. Or like, oh, I spent, you know, enough time on this where I feel comfortable, like showing people, you know, but you also have to realize where you are, you know, like it's also about taking advantage of like making the most of where you are, because you might not, you know, your life is always different from someone else, and someone always has more, someone always has less, you know, it doesn't matter. It's really more about how can I make the most of what I have right now. And then, you know, 20 years later, you'll look back at the dots and they'll all just connect, you know, they'll all just make sense. But you just have to, you know, kind of trust in yourself now. Hey, like, and that's the thing with art, you know, like art really is about like being okay with yourself, you know? And I think that's a huge struggle, you know, because people don't think like, oh, like I'm capable of like loving myself enough or feeling that I'm worthy of, you know, people following me or listening to my music, you know, and that's something I struggle with all the time. But I think art really, you know, at its finest, art is when you just feel in the present, like you feel like you are creating now, you know, and that's all that matters, you know?
Right. Yeah, I find that, that's super great. I mean, the whole in the moment thing is something that we focus on almost every podcast, I feel like, and
oh,
it's
really?
so paramount to what we do as artists. And I would love to explore that a little bit more with you. If I could kind of understand how you go about creating that situation for yourself. I mean, do you feel like you're prepared enough to be in the moment, or is it just
wow,
I need to be in the moment, so I am? You know what I mean?
Man, I think like for me, I do things in a very unique way. I mean, maybe not unique, but I think the way I live my life is not like the way everybody lives their lives, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like what you just said, like, you know, how do you be in the moment? How do you be prepared? I think for me, it's really all about preparation, you know?
Yeah.
And not just preparation in terms of your skill or your technical ability, but it's preparation in terms of your mental awareness and your fortitude and your selflessness and your kindness and your compassion. You know, those are things that come before all the technical the technique, man, and the skill. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, for one, if you don't like enjoy what you're doing, or even if you don't enjoy a little bit like what you're creating, like you can't expect other people to enjoy it, you know?
Right, yeah.
And like one thing I always say to myself is like, and almost everything I do is like, if I can't trust myself to like do this or to believe this, then I can't expect anyone else to, you know?
Right.
And that's something I'm constantly like, you know, driving into my mind is like, Evan, you know, you need to prove to yourself, you know, that you can rely upon yourself in all the things you do, like in being, you know, and being someone who is a listener, someone who can, you know, who can speak honestly, and he could be a good friend, you know, who can reach out, someone who could deliver, you know, music on time, you know, someone who can just, you know, not to be a thief, you know, people steal, steal things, but like all that stuff, you know, starts with you. Right. And especially as an artist, I think like as an artist, you know, as an artist living in a place of like commerce, you know, like living in a capitalist society, you know, there's one side where you're, like you said, introspective, you know, and like constantly looking into your mirror. And then there's the other side when, you know, you have like, you know, society looking at you as a product, and you have to consistently deliver to each of those sides. You have to say, oh, you know, I have to deliver to myself and be there for myself. But I also, if I want to succeed, you know, in this career, I have to, you know, deliver to the outside world. And those things, they have to kind of align with one another for you to like start to like, I think for you to like feel in a sustainable way. Okay. Sustainability is a huge thing too, which I think I'll probably talk about more.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like what you said. It's like once you get up in front of an audience, they can kind of see through the veneer of what you're trying to put on. And if it's not coming from a place that's legitimate, a place that's true to yourself, and you don't have these like doubts and things like that. That's kind of what you're saying, right? Like it's once you give it to the public, it's a product. But that product isn't, you're not aware when you're viewing the product as an outsider that there was all this introspection and maybe some doubt and maybe all of this stuff, and nobody really cares about that at the end of the day, I guess, right? So
yeah, you know, I think it's a give and take, and I'm not like, you know, like I'm still learning all this myself, but you know, like one thing, like it's kind of, you know, you have to really like learn about yourself before you can really like see what you're capable of, you know, because that's what's going to make you special. If you get to just kind of like dig deeper and deeper and deeper, into yourself, and then continue digging, I think that's what it's really like, what it feels like, at least.
Right. So I feel like as an instrumentalist myself, I feel like what you're saying to me is very geared towards creating music yourself, like writing music and full on expression. Because my job is to take what you do and bring it to life, put my own little thing into it, right? But I wonder if it's as pure. Have you ever thought about that? I mean,
what?
Like, if like an instrumentalist or someone who's presenting the music isn't the composer of the music, but you're the composer. I mean, you are a composer, so you're having to delve through the depths of yourself more so than I feel like my career calls for. I mean, what do you think about that? Maybe not.
Well, this is what I think, like I spend a lot of time just like singing other people's music,
Yeah, right.
And, maybe this is like my experience as a vocalist, because like I can sing with words, like, but in all, like one of the foremost things of being a vocalist is that you have to put yourself into the story of the music, and you have to like literally like your body is in it, just like you, like when you're playing, like you feel the music like coming out of you, like when you physically change your hands or your lips, like it changes the sound, and that's like a huge, that's incredible. I think it's like same thing with me, like with my voice, like I manipulate the sound with like, the flaps of my vocal cords.
Right.
But I think the music comes from the way you interpret it and how you put yourself into what you're playing, So I don't think at all it's, a lesser type of creativity, because I mean, there's so many examples of artists who have played other people's music who have been considered, who have been placed in a different category of creatives,
Yeah. Right.
So I think it's universal, the way that we dig into ourselves and we find creativity.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you 100% there. I think that, I mean, what my job really is to bring it to life, and through any means necessary. Right. And put my whole spirit into it. So I totally get that. I mean, can you kind of talk about what then inspires the artistry of it? I mean, like, I think we were already kind of talking about it, but what inspires you to sit down and write, or what inspires you to, I mean, maybe it's like a painting that you see and you're like, wow, that's really cool, and it kind of makes me think of a certain melody, or how does your mind work in that way, like when you're creating, when you're moving notes around on a page?
I think it's actually more straightforward than it might seem.
Okay.
Almost like the past year, like a lot of my projects have been based on, like people just needing music. People like came up to me and be like, hey, like, can you write this for me? Like I heard you do this and that, and I need this. So that, like, I'm like, okay, great. I have this material, and now it's up to me to, make this, like you said, come alive, And in other ways, it's just expression, just like the way I would need to tell someone that I'm having a bad day, or, express my excitement, or just feel good, like, why do you play music? Because it feels good, and you can express emotions that you can't express through your words or through your actions, so it's the same thing with writing. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm also a performer of my compositions too. So like if I write songs or, I write something with like a piano or something, I also get to play and express it and also like synthesize it. I get to, and on this like studio, I get to like mix it, and I get to like make even more decisions that I would also characterize as a performance,
Right.
So that's the way I would kind of.
So every little decision is a part of the macro. It's a part of the product, a part of the art that you're trying to put across, and every little decision is in service of trying to put yourself into it, I guess. Or put something into it that you relate to in a certain way, right?
Absolutely. I think that's what makes it really special. I think that's what one of the best people have great skill, immense skill, but they also have this like amazing capability to just open themselves up to themselves, just to like let things flow as they're supposed to,
Yeah. How does it? Do you practice that flow? How do you practice that?
Yeah, all the time, man. I mean, all the time, man. I'm practicing it right now.
Yeah.
I think one of the things they don't teach you in like, composition class is that when you invent something, let it live, let it survive past, 2 seconds, before you throw it away. Don't scratch it out. Don't erase it. I think people, when they write music, they think, oh my God, like if I don't write the like great music, the first time or the 50th time, then I can't. I'm just
right?
There's no point.
Yeah,
dude. You have to, like, you're gonna suck. Like in anything you do, you start doing it. You're not gonna be good at it. Like just expect that, and just like that's good. Like you should not be good at it. You should like start from somewhere, and that's the amazing part about it, is that you get to grow with yourself. If everyone just started something and they were the best at it, then nothing would be interesting,
Yeah, right. Nothing would be worth doing, right? That's super crazy. I mean, I don't know. I think about that all the time. Like I still, like, I've been practicing trombone for 13 years, something like that. And I still sometimes think I suck, but it's not like I'm going to give up. It's just a part of a stepping stone in the process, and I think we're all going to make some stinkers, and I think that's important, right? Because those are the things you learn from the most, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Really, when you're performing and you said you're practicing it right now. I love that because I feel like I am too. You're like trying to stay in the moment, trying to really absorb what you're saying and respond. And I feel like that's kind of a tenet of jazz music more so than kind of what I do. Maybe you could talk about your experience with jazz, because I think you were in that world. It seemed like you were in that world definitely more than me. I was like reading notes on a page and in the back of an orchestra most of the time. But I mean, like, the jazz world is so creative and so inventive, and
so like I write orchestral music, so like there's always new material, so what do you mean by like in the bounds, like stuck in the
so I'm talking like there's a very narrow way that we can express ourselves, and we have to play the right notes, the right rhythms
as a performer.
A performer.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that in jazz, since we're talking about jazz, it's a little bit wider. There's a little bit wider of an expressive capability, but there's still the parameters of what you're trying to do. So how do you live within that? What are the tools you can use to be expressive in
as a
the
performer?
Jazz? As a performer, yeah.
Wow. Well, I think when I was listening to you talk about, jazz and classical and orchestral music, and it made me really think about like the things that I think one needs to understand about, you know, this improvised music is its history, because you can't just talk about this, this type of music and not talk about where it came from, and how it manifested, because it's just, that is the music, like once you understand like where it came from, and once you start to like dive deeper into its roots, like I think that's when you can begin to connect with its expressiveness. I think when people, maybe when if you look at jazz from like from the outside view, you're like, whoa, like how are they all doing this at the same time, and there's no music. And there's no, like, they're not looking at like any music, and it's like it's changing time and all this stuff. Like, check out the history, bro. It's all it's all history, bro. But I think again, like when it comes to like opening your mind, like the way I learned jazz, it wasn't out of a book. It was through the records, it's through listening, and that's a huge aspect of like of this type of music. And one reason I think I've kind of like molded myself through jazz is by like transcribing and through listening on a very deep level. I'm not saying that like a classical person wouldn't be brought up that way, but lately, like I've been kind of like focusing on more like orchestral composition and like writing for all these different things that I've never really thought about. I've done a lot of like score study and like looking at things on the page, and that's like a completely new thing to me, kind of. It's like I'm so used to just like listening to it and then learning it in that way. But I think it really it's literally like it's like learning a language. It's like if you listen to it a lot, like you'll start to understand things. I think that's the same with classical music too. Like you listen to it and you have to like you start to become part of it. So they're not too dissimilar.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you
in that way.
Can we talk about like, because I knew you at NEC as a jazz composition major, and you wrote combo stuff, and I don't know, maybe you wrote big band stuff. I think I read a couple of your big band pieces one time when in some jazz reading orchestra or something like that.
Yeah.
But now you're doing film scoring, which is, like you said, more orchestrally oriented, and you're having to kind of adjust to that. Where's the passion? Like, where is it? Like, no, I'm not saying like where is it, like I don't see it. I'm saying like where is your passion, like in composing? Is it everywhere, or is it starting to narrow, or what is the? Go ahead.
No. I love all your questions. And actually I started getting into film composition my sophomore year of college. Yeah. So like I was studying, with Dominique Eade, and I was studying with Frank Carlberg, and then halfway through I just switched over to like a classical composer, Davide Ianni. And he's a great guy. He took me on as like, his student as in film scoring. And I was like, okay, great. Like I have no idea what this is all about, but it's interesting. And I stuck with it, up until I graduated. And he was my full-time instructor, along with, Jason Moran and Adelka. So since then, I've always like had my mind in film scoring. And now, as you could see, like I want to be a film composer. Like that's like what I want to do for a living. And I think at a certain point, in my career, I also want to own my own film production company. I want to like run a big business, because I'm very like business oriented. But definitely my love is with composition, and like and writing and creating is something that comes very like that's what I'm meant. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
That's what God put me on the earth to do.
That's cool. I mean, so speaking from a layman, I guess I want to know what you think the job of a film scorer is. Like, what is the goal? What are you trying to achieve? What kind of materials do you get beforehand to make certain decisions and things like that? Because I'm just kind of in the dark here, so you kind of fill me in on how it all works. That would be great.
Yeah, so typically, film composers work like collaborators. It's a great word. And the way, they come into like manifest in the world is through like, directors who have, big film projects, and they have, like producers and executives and actors and all sorts of PR assistants, whatever. And then they have the music. And typically like the music is like its own like little cabinet, and you open the drawer and there's a bunch of options. And those options are, artists. And I feel like a lot directors don't look for, or producers, whatever, they don't really look for like, composers necessarily, but they look for like artists, people whose sounds, will match with the tone of the project they're making. Right. So you don't necessarily need to label yourself as a composer to be a film composer. Your music can just show up, in someone's film if you wanted to.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And that's kind of why I feel like you're perfect for that, because you have like this artist. You're an artist. Like, it's obvious. Like, you do all these different things, and it's so interesting to kind of witness it. So I don't know. I would love, like, just keep talking about it, because I want to know, like, what do they give you? Like, what do they give you a directive or something like that? Do they give you? Yeah.
So knowing all those things that I just said, like, you're part of this collaborative project, you have to understand that your music is not at all like is not the forefront of the entire project. Like, maybe, I don't know like how much the budget is for a composer is, but like it's less than like maybe 30%, of the entire budget. But like, these really successful movies have budgets of like millions of dollars, so that's pretty great.
30%.
But anyways, what I was saying was that when you're a composer, you have to put your ego aside. That's a huge thing. You have to be able to take comments, take feedback. And I think what's different from being an artist on your own versus being someone who's a collaborator with, a director, is like, you don't call all the shots. You are a specialist. You are a filmmaker, and you are a filmmaker, but you specialize in music.
Yeah.
So you have to think from a perspective of the story. Think of the perspective of the character, from the perspective of the viewer who will be like witnessing this project, from start to finish.
Right.
And the best way to summarize that is story. The best way to like really understand that is like, how can you understand, character development and analyzing how music shapes the listener's perception of a particular scene or moment or emotion. Right. I think that's why I really connect to film music, because I really feel that my composition comes from a place of like emotion and story. I think that's how I've always kind of thought about things. So that's why I really connect with it. And in terms of like what you get from a director, like say you get on it, say you are taken on as a composer on a project, you know, a lot of times what happens is, you know, there's so many things that can happen. Wow. So like, like, you know, for example, like a lot of like on the past couple of projects I had, you know, I was on the project that wasn't finished yet in terms of, you know, the scenes weren't all the way together. You know, there was some edits that had to be like, you know, that were kind of wonky and stuff. And it was just like a draft, you know, like, but, you know, the reason why I was brought on at that time was because I can still create, I could still show the director kind of like what I'm thinking in terms of the music for this scene or for this character or this emotion, you know? So it's really all about, you know, I think it's a very, very, very like, you need to be very flexible and like very like on call because things are always changing, you know? Like for example, like one of these short films I was working on, you know, I was also the sound designer on. And you know, I was, you know, designing the sound. First I wrote the music, I designed the sound, and then, you know, I was mixing some of the sounds and some of the external music that wasn't mine, you know, it couldn't be like put in there yet. So I had to wait. So then there was some technical difficulties and whatnot, and there's some time went by. And then just the other day, you know, they asked me to send them the audio file.
Yeah.
And, you know, I hadn't, you know, I thought I wasn't really like done with it. so like things move very quickly in a very like kind of unforeseen way. So I think, you know, that's kind of the role of the film composer has to be very like ready to go.
you're kind of telling me that it almost, it's not set in stone how your job works. Like it's not it's not like you come in at the end and create a score for the movie.
Yeah, no.
So you're part of the process of making the movie, making and
yes, yeah, absolutely.
Really? Wow, that's so cool. Okay, so you're like getting in there. Then you're like you're a big collaborator, part of the venture of making the movie. Then
yeah, right? I think like the part you're in is always like the music part. Like you're not like telling the director like, hey, like this seems to be over here. Like you're not doing that. But,
yeah, right.
But you're constantly sending, you know, ideas to them because they have to kind of like, oh, like this works. Oh, I like this and I like that. And like, you know, like you just like keep the flow going. That's the best part of the collaborative experience, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. That sounds like a fun time, but I'm stressful at the same time, right? But I mean,
but that's the whole reason for, you know, the preparation. Though that's what the big bucks pay. You know, like if you can be prepared and your music can sound good and you can deliver on time, bro, you have a career. That's
your preparation
it, you know?
meets the opportunity, right? Like,
yeah,
you've seen it kind of before, but you're sharp enough to just apply your skills. To like, okay, I get it. Like, let's do this. Like, basically,
that's it, man.
Yeah, okay. But I feel like that's universal, right? I mean, if someone's looking for someone to do a job making something, making milk cartons, then they would look for someone who maybe has relative skills but hasn't done that before, but they have the know-how, right? So you're kind of like the jack of all trades what you're aspiring to be, I guess, is the jack of all trades. That I don't know. I don't think anybody's a jack of all trades. People are aspiring to be a jack of all trades. So that's kind of like what your path is, like trying to build up, spin all these plates, and keep them all spinning, and so you can market yourself.
And actually, that's exactly what I don't want to be.
Oh, tell me, what do you mean?
No, I do not want to be a jack of all trades. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so like laser focused on one thing, is because I tend to do things like one at a time, you know?
Yeah.
And I think right now it's writing for film. And I think that's all I want to do. That's all I need to do. And I think if I put all my life force into it, I can, manifest a vision that I see in my head, so.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. I think what I was saying when I said jack of all trades, not all trades, I guess, but the trade of composition. And you're saying you're focused right now on this thing. Maybe in college you were focused on writing an album, a jazz album with your friends, because that was the situation that you were in, and you can kind of foresee things in the future changing so that maybe you don't focus so much on film, but some other aspect of film, but you don't care about that right now, which is fine. We're living in the moment,
Yeah, man, you just gotta, I think intention is a huge part of having those small wins, because it's just like every day, if you set an intention for your day, and you can envision what it will look like, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. What will you do in those hours? When will you go to bed? When will you wake up? I think it's the same thing with how you plan, how you go about, years, how you go about, like pursuing your goals. I think it's really like all the same to me,
So what do you do? Do you schedule your day? Like you're saying that you kind of think about it in that respect, like you want to get this done during this time and all this stuff. Do you have like a master list of, or a schedule, or how regimented are you about that sort of thing?
It depends. Well, I think how regimented it can be relative, but I can tell you what I do.
Please.
Actually, ever since I was, I don't know, I was like junior. I think I was a junior. I started planning my days. Planning my life in 90-day increments. And I don't know, I got this idea just from like online, and I just wanted to try it out, So it's very straightforward.
Okay.
You take a 90-day increment, period, and you set your key target goal, like this one or two,
Yeah.
And then you just break those down into 3 ways, 3 subcategories, which which go to 3 months, and then you divide those 3 subcategories into essentially like 4 different subcategories
For weeks, right? Yeah.
Right. And then, from there you just keep going. So what I do is another thing about this is that why would you do this? I think the reason I do this is because I need to keep myself accountable for what I say I'm going to do, and then the things I do and the things I don't do. So what it looks like on a daily basis is I take out my planning, my notebook, and I write out, exactly like, things to do today, my daily activities, and then today's schedule. But the thing is that.
So you do that daily. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every day, but actually it's the night before. So usually.
Got you.
I write it for the next day.
Yeah.
But everything is already planned. So the week is already planned. The month is already planned. The targets for each week is already planned. The targets for each month is already planned. At the end of the week, I do a weekly review to see if I had met those targets or not. At the end of the month, I do a monthly review to see what I've actually completed in that month. And finally, at the end of the 90-day increment, I actually see if that goal had been attained. because, and even, and you know what? I'd be completely honest. Like, I'm usually not successful.
Yeah.
I'm usually not even successful at attaining the goal, but that's not where the power is. The power is in the reflection. The power is in actually, seeing what did you do, or how close did you come? Because then you start seeing like, oh, this is how my life kind of moves, and to be honest, like, I feel like even planning 90 days can be like really like, can be kind of, you can't foresee all the things that will come, in 2 months, especially in the past year. It's been so, so many different things have come and gone. So, but I still do it because, especially in this time when I'm like, trying to be focused and work on myself, I find that, keeping myself accountable is the only thing I have,
Right.
There's no one else, it's just me.
So, I mean, what I kind of had planned to ask you was how you build momentum in your life. And I think that you're kind of answering it now. I guess my follow-up would be that you'd say, like you said, you didn't complete your goal, or maybe you get to the end and you fell short. But that's not what's important to you. So you don't take an ego hit for that, or like not an ego hit, but like you don't feel responsible as long as you made an attempt, and the attempt was daily. The attempt was genuine, I guess, right? That's kind of what you mean by like, at the end, if you don't achieve your goal, you don't feel like you take kind of a hit to your psyche, I guess, that you didn't achieve something, because you did achieve something. You didn't achieve the goal, but you did something, right? I guess. But
I think that when they say like shoot for the stars and you'll end up on the moon, you might, hit the moon. Like that's what it's like, like if you don't get to where you want to be at the end of those 90 days, there's a good chance that if you really tried your best, that you learn something. And learning something is the best thing ever. So, and that, I think another huge skill that I think takes practice as well is being able to get back up again and again and again, like in every, like literally like everything. Like, hey, you don't work out one day, 1 week. Hey, you say something kind of shitty to someone, or you don't reply, or you don't, send something in on time, like being able just to get up again and to just try again. And like that is literally the single most important skill I can, if you like, that's all I can say about that. Like that's it,
What I'd have to say is like what I see in you, and I've seen it because you're so productive. Like it's just obvious, and you exude productive energy. I feel like something that's kind of stuck on me, the saying is like, when you want to change a habit, or you kind of fall into something that you're not proud of and you want to get out of it, you kind of have to get behind yourself and push, right? Like there is an effort there. And I feel like you're on wheels and you're going downhill, like you've got momentum in your in your existence, and it's awesome. Like, but when do you feel like you have to get behind yourself and push sometimes? And how do you approach that? Like
every day, bro.
Every day.
Bro, every day is a fight, bro.
Wow.
Not even lying, dude. Like
every
day, like I is like a choice. No lie. Like you need to wake up every day and say like, okay, what's it gonna be? Because it's just me. It's my life, And I think for me personally, I give myself tools to better, influence my state of mind, where it's like, oh, who am I? What do I believe in? I read aloud, like, my morning, like, statement, my night statement, whatever, and those things is kind of like to keep me on track, but I think it's
is that just like a mantra? Is that what you're talking about? Like
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like literally like thinking through like all those, everything you can ever hope to be, everything you can ever hope to achieve, and putting it down on paper, and then reading it to yourself like every day. Like imagine like it will change how you see yourself and how you see life, because I honestly, it's gonna sound weird, but sometimes like
I like weird, Evan.
Like
I get weird on the daily, man. Go for it.
like I feel like I experience life on a week-to-week basis. Like I don't expect to be here next week. If that makes sense. Like I literally think like if I'm writing music or I'm talking to someone, like this is it. This is the last time. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Because it just everything feels like so fleeting. Everything feels like this really is, my only shot, and I feel like that's why I stay up so late and why I don't go to sleep, and why sometimes like I just like I feel like I go really hard, It's just because I feel like I'm not gonna just be here, I'm not gonna this is it,
we're under the gun, right? I mean, like it seems like, and what I mean by that is we're mortal,
Yeah.
Like what you said, like we could fall asleep and just not wake up, and then what? And then what have you done? I mean, like, I just think like I think Neil deGrasse Tyson said this, and I'm really into space, and I don't know, like I'm wearing this shirt and I got space in the back and this lava lamp that kind of reminds me of space. But he says like, we're continually trapped in the present. We're trapped here, and we're transitioning from the future to the past through this lens of the present, and all we have is this present moment, right? So it seems like I like what you're saying a lot, because it's like in order to live in the moment, you can't, I mean, the planning and all of the stuff that you're saying is living in the future, I guess, but you're in the moment creating this for yourself. But day to day, you're in service of that in the moment. So it's not like you're constantly thinking about that goal, I guess, right? It's like,
man, it's so interesting you mentioned that. Yeah. Because like I do, like I plan like ahead, but I tend to think like very like now,
Well, you're able to do that because you plan ahead, right? I feel like there's only a certain amount of horsepower that we have, and if some of that horsepower is worrying about the future, or being sad about the past, or like regretting things and things like that, then you don't have enough horsepower for being right here and now and doing your work and being productive and stuff like that. So, I mean, is that kind of how you think about it too?
Man, it's not easy. I mean, like it's not like a perfect science. I think, as human beings, like we're always doing that, comparing ourselves, and like, expecting, to be something right now that you're not, but I think that's the beauty in living today and doing your best today, dude. Like that's so powerful, bro. Like who cares, if you messed up or failed yesterday? Like if you can just get up, and just kind of like say, just make a decision, like I'm going to try my best today, to be like the best human I can be. Like you're already winning. You've already won,
Yeah. Are you ever happy with what you put out? I'm just
man, I think dude, it's crazy because I feel like I would put out some music or something I wrote, and I'd be like, oh, this is so great. Like, this is exactly what I wanted to say. And then next week, I'm like, no, like next week, I'm like, I've learned something else. Like I've learned something else that could have made that better.
That I wish I knew, right?
That's no longer relevant, but, but no, I look back and I see that every step I took has got me to where I am. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter like what it was. I needed that, I needed to do that,
Right. So it's in the moment. I mean that okay. Let's because you're the deadlift hero from my story, you know, and I want to know because you were always at the YMCA when at NEC, and when I would go there, you'd be there, and I feel like I fell off track a bunch of times, and then but I would go there and you'd still be there, you know. So so what kind of role does exercise have in your life? I mean, do you still exercise, or what is the?
Yeah, no, I think exercise is like such a huge part of my life. And like it's I had this really contradictory thing because like being here, like writing music, it can be a very like stagnant like thing, you know, like you're like in one place, you know.
Right.
And my body likes to move. Like my body wants to move and like do things. So, you know, I like I said, like it's a fight. Like exercise is like it's part of me. You know, it's always gonna be like it's like training myself in a different way, outside of music, you know?
Right.
And it improves my life significantly.
How so?
Well, you know, it clears my mind, it improves my self-esteem, it regulates my eating habits. So say I wasn't exercising, I didn't really care about, you know, my physical fitness.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really care about what I'm eating because because in my head, like they're like kind of intertwined. You know, if I eat so that I can, you know, exert. I exert so that I can eat. You know, like they're both kind of, you know, together, and they both nourish one another. And I found that, you know, in the past, like I injured myself to the point where I couldn't really exercise, you know, at all because I was like injured.
Right.
So then my eating kind of stayed the same, and I just felt like it was all off whack, you know, because I was in this eating habit that, you know, wasn't supporting any exertion. Right. So, you know, like they really they balance one another out. So yeah, I need it. I need both of them, you know, to kind of keep my cool.
Interesting. Yeah. I have you noticed any similarities between exercising or like the process of exercising and musical practice and the things that you do?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Good. Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yes. It's all about your mind. All about your mind. It's like once you reach the point of discomfort, what do you decide to do past that point? Do you decide to keep going? Do you decide to stop? You know, because that decision is what propels you forward in exercise and in music. When I'm writing, am I just gonna like once I get really fatigued, because I get really fatigued, I'm like, this sucks. Like I'm not even writing music, I'm just programming, you know?
Yeah.
And do I stop because I'm just tired or bored? Or do I keep going because this is what I said I would do at this time? When I'm exercising, I said I would do 5 reps I'd do 5 sets of 10, you know, and I get to like 8 or 7, right. And I'm like, all right, you know, like whatever, it's all right. Or do I just take a brief break and do the remaining 3? You know, like it's not about like music, or it's not even about like physical fitness. It's about how you train your mind, and each of those activities are training your mind in the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. I mean, the mental fortitude is something that I get out of it as well. I mean, I've you know, I used to go to the gym, and then gyms have been a thing lately that you shouldn't do, or maybe you should consider being careful of, you know, lately, and because of the virus or whatever. But I've been running and biking a lot, and there comes a point where it hurts, and I know what you mean. It's like there's there's a reminder that you're human in there as well.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I get out of it is, I mean, I understand what you're saying, like completely. I totally vibe with it, but also I just feel like this thing that I'm doing right now, I can't just do it forever, and it hurts me to keep doing it, almost like it's putting stress on the body, right? And
oh yeah,
but it's beneficial stress on the body.
Yeah.
So you push through to reach something, a place of something different, something that you hadn't been able to do in the past, right? And I think that kind of ties in as well. Like when I practice trombone and I'm trying to get something out that is not quite coming out, and it kind of hurts to do it, or it feels uncomfortable. If I come back to it the next day, it feels a little bit easier, and it feels a little bit easier the next day. So it's kind of that's how I've benefited as well. There's so many parallels though. I mean, when we talk about deadlifting, and I used to go to the gym a lot and deadlift, and you would be there too, and you'd be deadlifting and stuff, and we would focus a lot on the form, right? Like so important to keep your back straight and your shoulders back and your butt down, and like drag the bar along your legs, and just all these people in the gym were kind of telling me how to do it, and it was a cool kind of camaraderie that we had. But that also technique, you know, like focus on the detail. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
another thing to keep in mind is like, one thing I learned recently about, you know, that progress that you're mentioning is that, you know, you can't just like expect to like be better the next day.
Yeah. Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
Like if you can like imagine that you do this one thing every day for this, like, you know, significant amount of time, like what you want to do is compare from when you started to then where you ended, you know, and kind of like forget about the middle. You know what I'm saying? Because no one really cares about the middle part. I mean, maybe some people do, but what you're trying to get is to the end, you know? But because you're experiencing it, you know, you have to go through all of it. So it's like when you write a composition, there we go. It's like you think about from a bird's eye view. You think about from beginning to end what it all looks like. Yeah. And then you zoom in, and then you do all the little details, and that is a tedious part, you know. But that's where the magic is like happening in your head. So I think it's the same thing. Like when you try to like get the physique you want, you know, you have to think about all the time it's gonna take the chip away to get there, you know. Right.
Yes, absolutely. I like that. Like every day it's not gonna be better. I like that idea so much. Like because it's so true. Like when I said that about trombone, it's like the next day it'll be a little easier. Next day it'll be a little easier. Sometimes it's not, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you did too much the day before and you can't even try to do what you were trying to do, or something like that. So fatigue. Can you talk about fatigue in composition? Like what is fatiguing about it? Because I mean, I'm doing something physical with my lips, right? But there's an exhaustion from being an artist, right? And just putting in the work and putting in the details. Can you talk about that? How do you deal with that?
Man, I think lately these days, like the fatigue has been mostly in the preparation, you know, because like I have these films, you know, I have like this very set structured, you know, piece of video, and what I have to do is like choose the instruments that will be played. I have to like I tend to write like a suite that goes along with like all the character analysis and the things that just come to my head, and it takes time. And to be honest, I don't think I'm really that good at it yet, you know. And like it takes a lot of mental effort, and the reason I know that I'm doing the right thing is because I feel like I'm really thinking a lot about my choices. And I think, like, for example, me being a vocalist, like I feel like as a vocalist, I feel very like I've gotten to the point where I feel like I'm not always thinking about, like, I feel more on the higher end of like the the skill set, you know, because I've been doing it for a longer period of time, whereas film scoring is like somewhat like a new thing, you know, to me. So like, I'm trying to say is like, it feels like I'm doing the right thing because it kind of feels uncomfortable. And every day that I feel like I'm like kind of in a space of vulnerability, I feel that that's where I should be, because that's where I was as a vocalist, you know, at a certain point in my life too.
Right. Well, you start to, I'm experiencing the same thing with trombone. I mean, I'm by no means at the end of or the end of gathering tools that I can use to play the instrument, but I feel like I've gotten to a point where in a performance, I'm not thinking about how to do things. I'm thinking about doing it. I'm thinking about what's going to come out, right? That's kind of what you mean by that?
By being a vocalist or writing?
I mean, kind of both. Like you kind of struggle in the beginning because things that will become natural, things that will become muscle memory or mental memory or whatever it is, haven't quite found their hold yet, you know? And and you're kind of working every day to reinforce the habits of the good habits that you're trying to do, you know? And like for me, it's like making a good sound all the time, making good slurs, like all this kind of stuff. And I'm sure with vocals, there's technical things that you can practice, right?
Yeah,
is
definitely.
What is there a way to practice composing, or do you just do it?
Yeah, no. It's there's a lot of So like your friend, you know, you said like score study.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
he's talking about Teddy Molaski, came on before we talked.
Yeah, Teddy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, amazing video, and like he's so right. Like there's so much music out there to study. Yes. From great composers, and also composers, you know, great composers, dead or alive, you know what I'm saying? Right. And like I think that's one of the best ways to literally like change your, you know, to elevate your level of musicianship as a composer.
Right,
you know?
Right. Wow.
That alongside like, you know, playing, because I also like, you know, playing piano, like playing through music is a great way to do that. And also like another way is just making up like tests, you know, like, oh, can I like take this John Williams score and use all the same instrumentation, use all the same like form, but then change like the chords, or like change like the melody, and keep the chords, you know, like those are all or orchestrated differently. There's so many ways to test yourself and to like get better. It's like crazy. You have to like start. It's like do one at a time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's funny because that the Mad Lib that I wrote, you know, was kind of the villainess was stealing ideas. Jazz musicians steal ideas all the time, right? And it's kind of like, it's funny that it's called stealing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, you use it, but you put your own little spin on it, you know, and that's what you're talking about. And that quote that's at the end of the Mad Lib is actually a quote by Bruce Lee, the martial artist. And it's absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. So like what's useful to you can use, but what's not, you kind of get rid of it and inject your own certain something into it. So I thought that's interesting that we kind of landed in that area, but yeah, I don't know, I find it so fascinating what you do, you know, and it's just like it's kind of I watch movies and I love movies, you know.
Oh yeah.
And it just seems like so much work that goes into it, you know, like from the beginning to the end, like, wow, this is an hour and a half of what the heck was the composer doing during the thing, man? Like, how did he do that? Like, how did John Williams write that music and have it timed so it was crazy?
Yeah. I don't know. No, it is a lot of work. I think it is a lot of work, and it's not just like, you know, work that you just like, you know, like you do, like you're creating, it's like a whole nother level of work. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like problem solving. It's not unlike a lot of like creative people in non-musical areas do, like it's really incredible what you can like achieve, in this type of like media, like this type of artistry.
Yeah.
But it definitely is like, it takes a lot to like do, like you gotta go for it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. We're going for it all, man. We're all in.
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome. Well, we've kind of come to the end of the time. I went over a little bit because we started a little late, but I would like to end with a nice crescendo to the end, like the most exciting pieces of music out there. And well, that's not true. I mean, there's a lot of pieces that end in decrescendos that end real soft and sweet and subtle, But but I like to end with rapid fire questions. So it's like cello rondo, crescendo, all that good stuff. So
okay, great.
Are you ready? You're going to exercise your creative muscle again?
Yes, I'm going to do my best.
All right, fantastic. So first one, what is the weirdest thing you have in your home?
The weirdest thing I have in my home?
Yes.
I think like a teddy bear.
Does it have a name?
No, it's not mine. It's my sister's, but it's here. It's in my room.
Why is it so weird?
I don't know. I think that's the weirdest thing I have.
I'm sorry. It's a rapid fire. That's it. The teddy bear. Okay. The nameless teddy bear. If you could be any animal, what would it be?
A sloth.
Oh. Interesting. Okay. Do you have a favorite book or a favorite author that you'd be willing to share?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, my God. What's his name? My favorite book is The Lean Startup.
The Lean Startup. Okay.
And the author escapes my mind right now.
It's okay. The Lean Startup.
It's a great book. Any person should read that.
I wrote it down because I'm going to read it. What are you currently learning?
I'm currently learning how to create an orchestral template. What
orchestral template? Can you give us a little definition of that?
Being able to program an entire orchestra in your computer.
Got you. Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds complicated. What's the first thing that you think about when you wake up?
Ooh, a great question. What time am I going to get up?
What time am I actually going to get up? Oh, that's awesome. Heck yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Hot or cold?
Hot.
All right. First thing that comes to your mind when I say the word, and now I'm coming up with this word on the spot, all right? When I say the word dense.
Ice cube.
Ooh, yeah, I went science on that. I like it. Okay. And then the last question. If you could know the answer to just one question, what would you ask?
Oh my gosh. Whoa, man.
And you know for sure that the answer is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would ask, oh,
dude, I love it. The amount of thought going into this is perfect.
I know, it's just like, is there life outside of other than Earth?
Oh. Wow. Okay. Like you mean life as we know it or just life? Like life like intelligent human.
Is there intelligent life outside of planet Earth?
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would ask.
Do you have any theories about that?
It's just so big, man. Like I have no idea.
Yeah.
I feel like there is, but like there's just so much we don't know,
Right. Yeah. Sorry to go back to Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I think it's funny what he says about the. Are you familiar with him? Do you know? Yeah. So he says that the aliens are starting to become a thing in the pop culture. There have been videos released of aliens and stuff like that, of spacecraft that we don't know what the heck's going on with. And he's like, what if we're kind of ego-centered individuals, or human beings are ego driven. What if aliens came here and they're super advanced, super intelligent, and they decided that there's no intelligent life on Earth and that we're not worthwhile?
Wow.
Because like the universe exists on such a huge time scale, right? Like,
yeah.
So
yeah, what if we're not intelligent enough?
Yes. That's what I'm thinking.
See, that's such a big question,
It's a huge question, man. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Evan, I really appreciate you coming on here, man. I think we got a lot of really good information going. And
yeah, I'm so glad. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course, man. Like, when I thought I wanted someone motivated, I thought of your name. Like, it popped into my head really fast. I was like,
wow.
So I'm just thankful. I'm just really thankful. And can you like tell everybody where to find your stuff? Like, how do we kind of get in touch with your art? I mean, I mentioned Spotify. Like, go listen to his albums. They're freaking awesome. I listened to him last night. I listened to him this past week and everything. Like Avocado, I've been jamming to that.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Yeah, I'm actually currently kind of working on my website right now.
Okay.
But honestly, I'm very active on my Instagram page. I tend to like post a lot of like things that are new, in terms of like video and music. So if you want to like check out some of my music, that's a great place to look. Or, you could like email me too, at therightcomposer@gmail.com with a W. It's a good place to
I like that.
To get in touch with me as well.
That's cool. All right. Well, let me just check to see if. Oh, we do have a comment by an Amanda Chi. I'm sure you maybe.
Amanda.
She says, "Yo, Evan, your Christmas album is lit. Abra, Katzman, and I jammed to it together 2 Christmases ago with a heart."
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a very very heartfelt time. Christmas album.
Heck yeah. Well, I think this has been the 12th episode of the Tone Dome. Hang on this. I'll keep chatting with you, but I'm going to end the live stream. And thank you, everybody, for listening in. And go check out Evan. I'll have all of his information below whatever you're listening to this on. All right? So thank you so much. And see you next time.
Yeah.